I want to shift gears on you because I have got to ask you about the interview with Ye and Sneeko. So first question is, listen, you're a free speech absolutist. However, I have watched you talk about the fact that you think his account should be shut down on X. And you famously took inches off of his dick by giving him 32 million followers when he had 33. I mean, I was crying laughing in the car at something that should arguably be an outrage. That said, what then makes you want to interview this guy? And I know you're like, I want to call him out on his BS, but do you feel like you got what you wanted out of that? Like we exposed him for what he is? Or
no,
where do you stand on that line?
All I got out of it was a lot of global noise, which is always quite fun if you're doing what I'm doing. I think he got out of it what he wanted, which was to turn the whole thing into a bit of a joke and get publicity. I kind of thought he might do something, pull a stunt like that. Sneeko is like a little Andrew Tate-like.
Agree.
He wants to be Andrew Tate, but he hasn't really got the smarts to pull it off. He's just quite an annoying little sidekick. One of my favorite cartoon strips when I grew up was called Dastardly and Muttley. And I sort of see Ye as dastardly and Sneeko as his little Muttley. Muttley was the sniggering little dog in the corner that would laugh at everything Dastardly did. No, my thinking about Ye is, obviously you're dealing with one of the most iconic, music stars of my lifetime, an absolute genius when it comes to music, but who a few years ago went completely nuts and began being brazenly, openly anti-Semitic. And when he was allowed back onto X, this is one of my bugbears with Elon, who I really admire and think is a genius. But we had a falling out a bit. I was going to interview him, and then he found out I criticized him over allowing Alex Jones back on his platform. And he had originally said he wouldn't allow Alex Jones back on. And I said the reason he shouldn't was that Alex Jones had a $1 billion defamation case awarded against him for deliberately inflaming the grief of Sandy Hook relatives by perpetrating things he knew to be lies about them, having actors who created the whole shooting and so on, making people attack the relatives of those who died, to go and desecrate the graves of the dead. That's what he did, whilst making hundreds of millions of dollars out of these lies that he promoted on social media. I don't think he should have been allowed to do it. Elon was right the first time and wrong when he brought him back. Similarly with Ye, if you've got 33 million followers on a platform like X, and you're spewing not just very unpleasant anti-Semitic bile, but you're also telling people to whip Jews, as he did, to make them slaves again. In other words, you're inciting hatred and violent hatred against a group of people based on their ethnicity, then you should not be given that platform to do it. And Elon, X I think has been revolutionized under him. He's allowed a much fairer platform with many conservative voices allowed to come and have their say in a way they didn't before he came along, and that's to be applauded. But I do think there are limits, and so do X. They suspended 5 million accounts last year, often for far less offences than what Ye gets up to on an hourly basis. So yes, I will absolutely implacably support someone's right to free speech. But even the First Amendment has qualifications of things that are not protected, be it child pornography and incitement to violence and so on. And X has a number of his own rules, which he violates with total impunity. And I don't think that's right. And so I wanted to call him out on my show, not to give him a platform to spew his bullshit, but to call him out on his bullshit and explain to a big global audience what he's saying here is completely wrong. And I'm going to expose it to his face. Now, my offer to him remains. If you want to come and sit with me for 2 hours, we'll go over absolutely everything, as we did 2 years ago when I interviewed him then. And I felt we got somewhere. I thought we got to some raw honesty in that interview, and we could potentially do that again. But he has a lot to answer for and a lot to explain. And I don't think at the moment he is a safe person to be given a platform of that size by Elon.
I have often wondered where the line is between free speech and inciting violence, and we're seeing more and more attacks against Jews under the pretense of free Palestine. And you have to really think about, like, when Sneeko was like, well, he's not whipping Jews, is he, Piers? And it's like, yes, but Look what just happened in Boulder, Colorado. Look at the two people that were just gunned down. You're inciting lunatics, 33 million people who follow you, to do this kind of crazy, dastardly, evil deed. Choose Function because it's the only health platform that gives you access to the kind of data most people never see and the insights to take effective action. Inside Function, you can test over 160 biomarkers, from heart and hormones to toxins and inflammation, even stress. You can also access multi-region MRI and CT scans, and they're all tracked in one secure place over time. It's a near 360 view to see what's happening in your body, and that's why top health leaders like Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Andrew Huberman, Dr. Jeremy London, they're all behind Function Health. This is why I love Function Health. And you know what else? Lab visits are fast and convenient at 2,000 plus locations across the U.S. Just $499 a year, that's $1.37 per day for cutting-edge health insights. What sets Function apart? All the results are tracked over time in one secure place, so you see how your health evolves. Insights come from top doctors based on your unique results. These could cost over $10,000 if you did it on your own, and there are no perverse incentives. Function doesn't push supplements or pharmaceuticals. It's just powerful, unbiased health data designed to help you own your health. Learn more and join using my link, and the first 1,000 people get $100 credit towards their membership. Visit www.functionhealth.com/Jillian or use the gift code Jillian at sign up to own your health. As the temps start to rise, I get that familiar urge to refresh my closet. But I am done wasting money on trendy pieces that I wear once, which is why I'm obsessed with Quince. The clothes are timeless, elevated, built to last, no insane markup. I'm talking about 100% European linen shorts and dresses that start at just $30. Italian leather platform sandals, luxe swimwear that looks straight off a runway but costs half of what you'd expect. Quince partners directly with top-tier factories, cutting out the middleman so you get designer quality at a price that actually makes sense. And they only work with ethical, responsible manufacturers who care about people and the planet. Personally, I stocked up on the linen tees and the tanks, and believe it or not, a killer summer dress. Occasionally, I do wear dresses. And honestly, it finally feels like my wardrobe matches my standards. Upgrade your wardrobe at quince.com. Luxury should never mean compromise. Team, give your summer closet an upgrade with Quince. Go to quince.com/Jillian for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/Jillian to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Jillian. I wanted to ask you a little bit about that transition before we get to Kanye, because I personally am fascinated with it. As a person who was on arguably the most maligned reality show of all time, your transition of judge on AGT, one Celebrity Apprentice, to interviewing the biggest leaders in the world and debating Tucker Carlson and Saudi Arabia is kind of mind-boggling. Did you anticipate these reinventions? Are they serendipitous? How does that happen, Piers?
Honestly, I think it's just chilling self-belief. I came from a wonderfully strong family of very strong women who instilled in me. And I'll give you one example. Like my grandmother always said, she used to have this saying, "One day you're the cock of the walk, the next you're a feather duster." And what she meant was, never get too big above your station when your things are going well, and don't, because there'll always be a downside coming in life. It's what life is like. It's how you deal with these two things, and to stay on a level keel. And my mother sent me a postcard when I was very young of a hippopotamus flying with a flock of seagulls, and it had the headline, "Ambition knows no bounds." And that was from a young age. And that was the family mantra, that, you were as good as anybody else in the world. You just had to find what you wanted to do, live your passion, live your dream, and back yourself. And I say, I've got 4 kids from 31 to 13. I say to them all the time, just back yourself. There's no such thing as just doing what everybody else does. Forget that. Right. There's a big herd mentality you'll find out there. Don't be one of the herd. Find what you love, chase that dream, And there's no reason why you can't become the greatest of what you do that's ever existed. The only thing stopping you is yourself. And because I've always had that mentality, even when I've had downsides in my career, which I've had low moments, I've been fired from jobs and so on, but I've always seen them not as a negative, but as an opportunity. My sons will tell you, I bore them rigid with the same speech from Rocky Balboa in the sixth movie, which was the one that Sylvester Stallone did 20 years after the Rocky V, which was a turkey. So he had this terrible, terrible end to the franchise of Rocky V. And then he came back 20 years later and he made Rocky Balboa, a brilliant film. Because by now Rocky's stopped fighting, he's old, and he comes back out of retirement. But his son's a spoiled brat in his 20s who hates being Rocky's son, even though he secretly loves his dad and so on. And Rocky eventually has it out with him in the street. And he says, look, it will knock you down and keep you there if you let it. And the way that winning is done in life is not how hard you can hit. It's how hard you can get hit,
right,
get back up, and keep moving forward. Now, you know that, Jillian. I know that.
I do.
And we've learned the hard way. When I tell young people, understand life is hard, right? And you all get too cosseted now at schools. When they brought in participation prizes for kids at school, where if you came last, you got a prize. I was like, how does that prepare you for the real world? How does that prepare a child for the adult world where you don't get a participation prize? If you come last, you get fired, right? And I just think this whole mindset has been so wrong for young people. And thankfully, I think that kind of wokery view of weakness is strength and so on is beginning to go, because we've realized how damaging it is. You should be encouraged to want to win, to be the best of what you can possibly be in life, to back yourself, to be a winner. These are good things, not things to be ashamed of. And if you come last, don't have a party with your friends celebrating how terrible you are. Just look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm going to be better next time. I was never any good at athletics. I was a great cricket player when I was young. I was good at soccer, football, good at a few sports. Terrible at athletics. Both my brothers were great sprinters, jumpers, and everything else. But I used to always win the non-finalist race, which was for all the people who never made a final on sports day. I used to win that one. I was the best of the bad athletes. And I'm prouder of that than I am about anything I've achieved in my life. Because actually, what it showed me was even when I'm terrible at something, I would still have that competitive zeal to be the best of the losers.
I appreciate that. Active Skin Repair utilizes a molecule called hypochlorous acid. Now, when you apply it to the skin, the molecule works by mimicking the natural immune response to cleanse, soothe irritation, reduce inflammation, and support healing. Active Skin Repair can be used to treat a wide range of skin issues, including cuts, scrapes, burns, sunburns, diaper rashes, and other types of skin damage. And it's also safe and non-toxic, making it suitable for use on all skin types, all parts of the body, and you can even use it on rosacea, eczema, and acne-prone skin. With over 500,000 happy customers, thousands of 5-star reviews, and ingredients so safe and clean they can be used by the youngest member of the family to the oldest, you now have one simple solution for all of your family's skin health needs. So visit ActiveSkinRepair.com to learn more about Active Skin Repair and to get 20% off your order. Use the code Jillian. Again, that's ActiveSkinRepair.com and the code is Jillian.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And make sure to let me know what guests you want to see on in the future.